Your Words Destroyed My Planet, the stream series. The edited version. Originally streamed live at twitch.tv/dualitysdownfall. More information in the description. Welcome to Your Words Destroyed My Planet, Chapter 20. The way you wake up is a way you'd be happy to wake up again and again. You miss Aradia. You miss what you had with her when things were good, of course, but you miss more than that. No matter how much your relationship had died without you two noticing, you were still together. You still loved each other, even if you no longer pitied one another. There is something to be said for sleeping with people you love. Not paling, you don't mean that, but just physically being asleep and at your weakest next to someone who not only means you no harm, but cares for you too. You know better than to hope that Dave would ever return your feelings, and that's fine. Your emotions aren't his burden to bear, and you love him plenty in the platonic friendship kind of way as well. This isn't a second-place prize. He's your friend, and he'd fight to protect you just as you would for him. So, with all that said, it's nice to wake up with him. His hair is splayed out across your chest and shoulder, the sleeping bag you're both in just grazing his cheekbone. He's laid out half on you and half not, with one arm flung firmly around your middle, with his fingers lingering around your grub scar on that side. His thigh is wedged between yours in a way that'd be much more scandalous if he wasn't completely dead to the world, and if you weren't so in need of relieving yourself that his hip pressing against you might be nice. Instead, you gotta pee. You have zero experience for how to get out of a sleeping bag that you're sharing with another person. You don't know if you should wake Dave up or not, if he somehow sleeps through you squirming your way to freedom. You've then also got to get changed and get out there. Okay, you have to start somewhere. You move your upper body to try to kind of shuffle Dave's head off of you and onto the mattress below you both. As you try, though, Dave just holds you tighter and makes a sleepy and plaintive noise that'd break your heart if you didn't have a more urgent demand on you right now. Dave, you hiss at him, and unsure of what else to do, you just reach out and dig your fingers into his hair and kind of mess it about. He's not a fucking bark beast. What are you doing? Dave murmurs something, squeezes you a little tighter, and then relaxes and looks up at you blearily. I gotta get up, you explain. Dave blinks at you, and you can almost see the loading icon over his head until he processes what you just said. Yeah, sorry, right. I was like mid-dream, Dave explains, and shuffles off of you, and with a little fiddling he finds the zip. What were you dreaming about? You ask, to try to force some normality in here. I don't know, it was like an arcade. I was with Sarava of all people, but all the games were weird, Dave says with a yawn. Fascinating though that is. You're finally free, so you move past him and start pulling your outdoor clothes on. Stay in the proximity thing, Dave calls out to you. You open the door of the tent, and then the cold hits you, kicks you when you're down, and probably steals anything valuable you had on you before flooding the tent and making Dave shriek. Close the door or I'm stabbing you in all your favorite organs! Dave yells at you from the other room. You're pretty partial to all of your organs, so you'll pass on that. You hurry out of the tent and zip it up properly. You manage to find somewhere reasonably private to answer nature's call, all while looking around, wary of any kind of animal trying to sneak up on you, but it's just rocks, snow, and ice up here. When you get back in the tent, you're quick to close the door and take everything off again. Sorry, thermodynamics is a bitch, you tell him as you stick your head in the sleeping area again. Dave is swaddled up in both of your sleeping bags like a worm. A worm, in this case, which happens to be armed. Why do you have your laser sword? You ask him. It's not on, but you're still confused as to why he's got it. I was gonna... Dave pauses as a muffled alarm in the sleeping bag goes off. If you weren't back by now, I was gonna go out and check you were okay and stab anything trying to make you not okay. Dave drops his switched-off laser sword and sits up in the sleeping bag. I can't say that I'd stab things for you, but I'd toss it really high up in the sky with my psionics, so I appreciate it, you tell him. Fantastic, Dave says sleepily and stretches his arms up above his head and then out. As Dave lowers his arms, he looks a little emotionally down. You don't have to be a genius to figure out that he's probably remembering that his girlfriend just broke up with him. You don't know whether you should pretend everything is fine or if you should get him to talk about it. Look, I'm okay with whatever you want. You start. That's a wild thing to say, Dave interrupts. You are going to very firmly not think about that and how true it may or may not be. So what I mean is that if you want to talk about the Jade thing, we can. I know I'm on the other side of the breakup coin here, but I can at least relate to losing something that went on that long, so I'm not just talking out of my ass, but I don't know if you want to think and talk about it, or if you'd prefer we just go on like normal and focus on what we're doing now. I've wanted one or the other at different times after my whole Red Rom deal went down like a house of cards, so if you tell me what you want, I'll do it. Even if you change your mind later. You continue. I don't really think there's a lot of point in talking about it. We didn't grow apart. She outgrew me. I'd say she left me behind like a kid abandoning their childhood stuffed animals if it wasn't for the fact that she still has a shelf of them that she could never get rid of and routinely rotates their places on the shelf so none of them get their feelings hurt. So she didn't outgrow them, but she outgrew me. There's nothing you can really say to make that suck less, Dave says quietly. Yeah, I can't really help that. What kind of not talking about her are we doing? Just not bringing it up, or are we at Jade who? I don't know any Jade. Where are we? You ask. You're gonna fake Jade-specific amnesia? Dave laughs in surprise. Hey, if that's what you want, you tell him. As cool of you as it is to pretend to forget who Jade is entirely, I think I'd probably just want to not think about it. That's probably bad though, right? Avoiding thinking about something. Dave frowns a little, and the sleeping bags rustle as his grip on them unconsciously tightens slightly. If you'd done something wrong, then I'd say you probably should think about that, but from what you said, it sounds like it wasn't anyone's fault, and there's nothing you can learn from that. It's already happened, and you can't change it, so there's no point thinking about it endlessly when you can't learn from it, because there's nothing to learn. We can just do other shit until it stops hurting so bad. That's what you did for me, you tell him. Dave looks at you, his gaze intense. You think he's probably weighing up what you said, but it makes the air between the two of you feel charged. You ignore the dumb part of your think sponge with no impulse control that's basically just suggesting that you kiss him. That would go down terribly, even if he was interested in you. You're pretty sure of that. Besides, given the choice between impulsively kissing your crush and actually helping the guy whose well-being you invested in because he's your goddamn friend, you know which you'd pick. Thanks, Dave says quietly and glances away from you. Anytime. Or, alternatively, I have no idea what you're talking about because this conversation never happened. Take your pick, you tell him. Dave laughs quietly and properly emerges from the protective embrace of the sleeping bags. Alright, today's plan then. Dave starts, his voice back to business. Dave lays out the plan to eat, get changed, pack your little campsite down again, and then for the both of you to get to the mountain peak that you need to reach so you can plant the communication point. You'll have lunch there and return down the side of the mountain to get to your snowmobile and hopefully make it back before dark. Apparently down the mountain is quicker than up it, especially when one of you has the psionics to just carry you down short but tricky climbs. The weather is nice and clear, and you think you might be getting used to the cold at least a little, so the trip up to the peak is burnt on an entirely dumb alternating game of would you rather. Would you rather have every meal cold or have too much salt on everything you eat? You ask as you trudge uphill. How salty are we talking here? Too much salt can be fatal, Dave asks. Not that salty, just enough that if you taste it, you think that it's more than you would have put on yourself. You answer him. I'd have everything cold, Dave says after a moment's thought. Really? No more chili? No hot curries? You'd be on this planet eating cold salad? You ask him skeptically. First of all, I can still have those things, they just have to be cold. Cold pizza is still good. Dave starts. Not as good as hot pizza. No one's ever sat down at a pizza place and been like, yeah, could you cook me a pizza, forget about it for like half an hour, and then chill it in the freezer for 5 minutes before you serve it to me? That's how I really like it, said no one. You scoff. True, but I present you this option instead. It's breakfast, and you have a bowl of cereal. The cereal is kind of salty as well as sweet, which is weird, but you can get popcorn like that, so whatever. You finish the cereal, and then, Solix, you have to drink a bowl of salty cereal milk, Dave says ominously. I've changed my mind. I'm team cold food now, too. I'll miss you hot food, but I'm not doing that, you say with a grimace. Thank you. My turn. Would you rather put your communication thing here or more over there? Dave asks. It takes a split second for you to realize that this isn't a hypothetical. Dave is actually asking you a tech question. Oh! Here should work, actually. There's nothing really blocking anything I put up here. I'll get started. You tell him. Dave pulls the trailer with your tech in it up so that you can start unloading things and setting things up. You work efficiently, dropping into a smooth kind of focus, which is only aided by Dave handing you things whenever you ask for them. You're a very good assistant, you tell Dave as he hands you a hammer. I'm your glamorous assistant, Dave corrects you. Sure, downplay your usefulness for looks if you want. Wait, do you mean like a magician's assistant with the... What is it? You try to find the word. Like a vintage Playboy bunny suit, but all sequins instead? Dave asks curiously. Your eyes travel up Dave's legs and up the rest of him until you get to his eyes. See, he might be in a bulky snowsuit now, but you've seen him in just his underwear before. You remember the yoga thing. You can visualize that. In fact, visualizing that happens regardless of whether you meant to or not. That is the thing I have never pictured until now, but is now burned into my mind. You say dumbly. That'd be the funniest shit ever. I'll do that, only if it's red and sparkly as physically possible. And take like 1,000,000 pictures. Hal would write critique of the lighting and posing for irony's sake. Holy shit. Dave snickers. Okay, cool, that's fine. The mission doesn't hinge on your ability to get this set up right so that the mind below you can open. You can totally think of Dave in that outfit and not fuck this up entirely, so cool. This is great. Fucking hell. You are fluorescent yellow right now, man, Dave says with a grin. Secondhand embarrassment on your behalf. You lie. I could kill that look. I totally have the legs for it. Dave snorts. You would do about anything to stop this line of conversation because you're going to end up saying something dumb. Oh, you know what? I bet... Dave falters, and his expression of amusement washes right off his face. Dave? You ask uneasily, and glance around in case he's seen something you haven't. You can't see anything, so you look back at him, only to see Dave looking down at the ground. What? Is it bro or something? You ask worriedly. No, he's not. Dave shakes his head. I was just gonna say something like what Jade think of it, because what she usually says about ideas like that, but it doesn't matter now, I guess. Yeah, I remember that with Aradia. I'd read something or see something, and I was with her so much I automatically showed her things and told her things, and suddenly I couldn't do it. It trips you up. You agree unhappily. Does that at least get better? Dave asks quietly. Yeah, it does. You get a new routine. Living somewhere new was helpful for me, so thanks for that. You get used to it. Besides, me and A are basically friends again now, and you'll probably get there with Jade too. You tell him. Dave doesn't seem as reassured by that as you'd have hoped, but you don't think that would have made you feel better when you were in that place either. If it helps, I support your dreams to be my glamorous assistant in the universe's most sparkly bunny suit. Though, maybe not outdoors in this temperature. You tell him. Thanks, man. Dave smiles a little weakly, but it's there. You ask him to pass you something else and go back to work. You get the signal point set up and breathe a sigh of relief as it immediately connects to both the base and the points you've already put in below. Dave, on the other hand, is sat on the trailer looking utterly miserable. You might have distracted him away from thoughts of Jade before, but it looks like he's pretty set in them now. It's all working. We should probably eat before we go down, right? Otherwise we're just gonna have to stop and make camp partway down, or would it be smart to build in a rest there? You ask. Either's good. You hungry? Dave asks, somewhat listlessly. I could go either way. You shrug. Of course. May as well walk and stop later then. Come on. Dave sighs and gets up. He helps you load a few things back into the trailer, and you eye its mostly empty state wistfully. Could I not just put my bag in that? We could both put our bags in that and then take turns pulling the trailer. You suggest. And then one of us lets it go and all our food and water is gone forever and we die on a mountain. Sorry, no can do. I know it sucks, but it's way harder to lose the pack that's strapped to your back than it is the trailer. Dave says, probably reasonably, but you're still bitter about it. The two of you start walking, and the weight of Dave's mood is downright oppressive, even with him not saying anything at all beyond the occasional basic direction or warning. Do you want to talk about whatever you're thinking so hard about that I can almost hear it? You ask after about an hour of that. Dave doesn't say anything right away, so you figure you have annoyed him, but after several heavy seconds, he does speak. I'm gonna have to tell my family about Jade, Dave says finally. Oh, are you worried about Jake and Dirk or something? You guess. Jake is Jade's brother, so even with her and Dave broken up, they are still tied into the same family web or whatever. Is he worried about that? No, Jake might be a little awkward for a bit, but he's chronically neutral when it comes to any kind of conflict. He's not going to cause problems or anything. Dave tells you as he waits for you to climb down a steeper part after him. You cheat and float down. That's good then, you say. Dave doesn't look any happier. Okay, if it's not the Jake part, then what exactly are you worried is going to happen? Your family all seem really supportive and nice when it's actually serious shit that matters, you point out. I don't think they'll be angry or anything. I've got to tell them that she broke up with me, that I fucked it all up. I'm pretty sure Dad was hoping we would get married or do something similar. It's not like he was ever like, you have to get married or you have to have kids with her, because he is a good and supportive parent whose approval isn't conditional. Dave says that last part somewhat sharply, so you're going to assume bro is the counter to that. Yikes. You didn't fuck it up, you remind him. Oh yeah? I went to give her that necklace I showed you before, and she thought I was about to propose, and she tackled me to stop me doing it, and then broke up with me. Dave's shouted words echo over the mountain. God, that sucks so badly. As much as you get where Jade was coming from, you've been the one to end the relationship in similar circumstances after all. That just really sucks. She's not even the bad guy. She was clearly trying to stop things from snowballing worse. If he had proposed and she'd immediately ended things with him, that'd probably be way worse, right? The trailer catches on a rocky patch, and Dave yanks at it in futile effort. Come on, you piece of shit trailer. Just fucking run me over if you're gonna be like that and put me out of my fucking misery since I've lost out. Ah! Dave yelps as you psionically yank him up in the air and suspend him upside down out of arm's reach. Okay, drawing the line there. You sigh. Put me down! Dave shouts. I'll put you down when you admit that Jade breaking up with you isn't you losing everything. It sucks and it hurts and you can be miserable, but you've not lost everything, you tell him firmly. Fuck you, Dave snaps. That won't make me put you down, you counter. This is insubordination, Dave warns. Maybe, but we both know you need me for this mission, and I don't super care if you decide to ban me from future ones. Well, I actually kind of like it so far, so I probably would be a little sad, but I care more about you not thinking your life is over because a girl broke your heart, you say with a shrug. Jade's not just a girl, Dave argues angrily, squirming as if it'll help. Sure, Jade's super hot, really smart, funny, she's great. I'm happy we're friends, she's definitely a catch, and I can see why you're upset to lose her. She's not the only thing in the universe, though, you point out. Dave silently glares at you, and you have to admit it's pretty intimidating. You can be sad for all the shit you won't get to do with her now, or your life not going how you thought it would. I get that. Grief is fine. It sucks super bad, but it's not something I have a problem with here. You tell him, a little more gently. Dave stays sullenly silent. There's so much more to you than just being Jade's boyfriend. You're smart and you're kind to your friends and you have your whole family. You're an artist, you do cool tattoo shit, you play music, and I know that can't all be Space Ghost stuff, because I'm pretty sure the Tetris theme you played me was just for fun. Your life isn't over. You're better than that, you say softly. It feels like it's over, Dave says ever so quietly. I know, you agree. You turn him the right way up and gently lower him to the ground, and he stays sat there where you put him, so you crouch down next to him. It sucks working out who you're supposed to be without someone you've been with that long. I get it, you say, keeping your voice gentle. You want to snap him out of it and make him see that he's worth so much and that losing Jade doesn't take that away. You're not so dumb as to think there's not a pitch streak to that too, but look, even as a friend, sometimes you need to be tough with someone because you love them. Platonically, as a friend. You're really not trying to turn this situation pitch to win him over. There's no way he's ready for that, and you might not be fully ready for that yet either. Even if there was a chance in hell he'd say yes. Which there isn't. It's different for you, Dave says, without looking at you. Because I broke up with her, you guess. No, that too, but I went from being a secret lab rat to being a real person here. Jade was my first real friend. I mean, Carcat and you and everyone as well, but me and Jade just clicked and she asked me out and I don't know how to be me without her, Dave says miserably. You feel bad for him, you do. Your first thought, though, is empathy for Jade. That's a lot of really heavy weight to put on a person and a relationship. You are a person outside of her. You're a pretty great person, actually. You're gonna go home and explain to your family what happened, and they'll be sympathetic, and it'll be sore, but you'll still exist, you tell him. We said we were gonna stop for food on the way down, so we might as well do that now, yeah? I can make it, you offer. I guess. Dave shrugs. Oh boy. It seems like his mood has taken a huge downswing and he's riding it all the way to the bottom. You figure his prior technique of distraction could only last for so long before it gave way. Do you think she might change her mind? I mean, you broke up with Aradia and it hurt you. Maybe she'll realize she made a mistake, Dave says, and looks to you for hope, but you haven't got any to give him. I think, after seeing what went down with me and Aya, that she wouldn't do this unless she was really sure about it. I don't think she's gonna change her mind, you tell him, and float the trailer down to you. I could ask her, or beg. I'm okay with not having dignity, he mumbles. Dave, no, you say flatly. Dave makes an agonized sound and falls down on his back with a whoosh of displaced snow. You fight with the closures on your bag to try to get to the food within it. Wish my dad was here, Dave says in a small voice that breaks your goddamn heart to hear. You look around to Dave, whose face abruptly shifts from miserable to angry. Not you! Dave snaps and flings a handful of ice and snow through the air. Bro. Does he really not learn his lesson about opening his mouth? You ask, and eye the spot that Dave aimed at, not that you can see anything there. No, because... Dave pauses and stares at the empty space to the side. Shit, Dave whispers and scrambles to his feet, his hand going to the palm husk display on his sleeve. What's wrong? You ask warily, pausing in your fight with your bag. Maybe balance shit. My read might be wrong, and he might be fucking with me, but I need to check, Dave says, without taking his eyes off the screen. Good thing you put in that tower in then, so he could talk to Aradia this easily, huh? Dave starts typing again with a frown on his face. We're off. He's not fucking with me. I know I'm off balance, but we shouldn't be... Dave glances to the side, closer than before. You don't like the idea of bro being closer to you, ghost or not. You stand up, like it'll do you any good. You're not super reassured when Dave's black and red eyes flick to you and back to nothing a few times. No, he couldn't. I mean, a ghost getting touchy with him is one thing, but he can't... Dave says slowly, as you presume bro talks. What? What's going on? You ask. So, we're off. Aradia confirmed it. It's way harder to throw a planet off, and I know I'm fucked up right now, but I couldn't move things this drastically by accident. Bro thinks it's you, or whatever came through to you when we balanced last time. Dave explains. Is that possible? You ask. For it to just be you? No. Balancers have way more influence than regular people, and you're not one because you can't see bro. Also, you're not haunted like we are. Dave tells you. But I was haunted or something earlier, and maybe the unreality field, or whatever you called it, getting close is making things odd? You suggest. Dave's palm has pings, and he glances down at it again. I can't even things out without Aradia, though. We have to get back. If things are going to be this far off, we could have real problems if they keep getting worse, especially when night falls. Dave mutters. What happens at night if we're really far off? You ask, kind of not wanting the answer. Weren't you ever scared of the dark as a kid? Dave asks you as he types away. A little? You admit, somewhat nervously. I've not seen it happen on a planet before, but I have in one of Mom's experiments. The whole irrational fear that you tell yourself doesn't make sense. The one where something in the dark is going to grab you and drag you off. It's not so irrational then. It probably won't get that bad, but even aside from not wanting to lose any of our crew, that kind of fear snowballs and it only makes it harder to balance, Dave says. Oh. Well, fuck. Can you not? Is she too far away? You ask him worriedly. No, I can reach her from here. I can't balance with you here, seeing as you keep needing medical supervision whenever we do it. Besides, if it is something to do with you, I'm not having that happen up here. She's coming to meet us. We need to get down here ASAP, Dave says, lowering his arm. Well, he seems better now. I guess he just needed life or death danger to change things. On consideration, that probably says bad things. However, you might have an idea. How open are you to a very stupid idea? You ask Dave slowly. How stupid? Dave asks suspiciously. I can't fly us down because that's not something I'm cleared for, but I'm totally allowed to psionically mess with our tech, especially if it's going to stop some sort of problem. You start. I'm listening, he says. The trailer has levitation tech. We can turn it all the way up to max and get in it with all of our stuff. We go down the mountain, and whenever we'd normally crash, I can intervene and pick the whole thing up. It doesn't have brakes, but I can catch us and slow our momentum just fine. You explain. Dave looks down the rest of the mountainside. That's a substantial number of hours climbing down, and even after that, you have to ride the snowmobile back to the base. If time is at a premium, this could really save you some. Could you psionically steer? The levitation would cut out normal steering by weight, Dave says after a moment. Yeah, I could slow us down too. With your eyes, I'm sure we'd see problems before they happen, you point out. Dave looks down the slope, then at the trailer, repeating that a few times. Finally, he looks at you. We absolutely cannot do that. It's a misuse of equipment and hugely stupid. We absolutely walked down the mountain, so, if anyone asks, we walked, Dave says firmly. Definitely. A cold, long, and boring walk. Very safe and unremarkable. Do you want to sit in the front, or should I? You ask. I can see over your shoulder if I hold on to you and look over you. You probably need the close-up view more. Let me rearrange stuff. Put your pack on your front so I can get close, Dave tells you. There's a few minutes of the two of you definitely not rearranging the trailer, turning the levitation up to max, and then warily getting in. Dave's left arm slides between your chest and your pack, and he grabs the back of the trailer with his other hand. The trailer is side on to the mountain right now, and you're holding it in place as the two of you get settled. You pick the trailer up and turn you both around to face the downward slope. This is so dumb, Dave breathes, right by your ear. We could still actually walk, you point out. No. I trust you. You say you can do it, and I trust you, Dave says. Your stomach lurches at his words, free fall that crashes right into your more metaphorical heart. To cover it, you let go with your psionics, and the trailer rushes forward. That makes your stomach flutter too, but in all honesty, it doesn't compare. Right there, Dave tells you after a few seconds and guides you down a smoother slope. If we zigzag, we could probably... You start. Control the momentum better? Yeah, do that. There, Dave tells you, and you follow him. It is a rush down the mountainside. There are several instances where you just fly right over areas that you'd have to climb or walk well around on the way up. The drop being so much that you have to actively catch the trailer and slow its descent to the slope below it. You start getting good at it as you go. You're smart enough and old enough to not do the dumb teenage thing of pulling dumb stunts to impress your crush. This whole thing is stupid enough without you adding additional idiocy to the mix. You will, however, reserve the right to let your blood pressure race like crazy whenever Dave holds you tighter or he laughs in exhilaration. It probably only took you about 15 minutes total to get down the last 2/3 of the mountain, and as you drift slowly to a stop, you consider that time well saved. That was a super boring walk that took hours, you say flatly. I warned you about the walking that we definitely did. Dave agrees with a laugh as he clambers out of the trailer. You did, you agree, and float yourself out of the trailer and onto your feet. Okay, snowmobile next. Where did I... Dave trails off as he looks around. We were around here, right? You ask as you look about. The problem, of course, is that the area where the mountain slopes down and rejoins the rest of the forest area is reasonably wide, and Dave parked the snowmobile under a tree. Not super helpful, as this forest is full of trees, being that it is a forest. Dave raises his hand to his mouth and then splutters when his gloved fingers almost go inside his mouth. What? You realize what just happened. Did you just forget you were wearing gloves? No. Maybe. The snowmobile responds to the right high pitch of whistling. This one. Dave demonstrates a quiet but high note. Okay, you say. But I can't do it loudly without my fingers. Dave mumbles that last part because it means admitting that he forgot he had gloves on. He's struggling to take his glove off, so you just loudly whistle more or less the same note. There's a distant flash and a beep through the trees as the snowmobile reacts. Oh my god, how did you... Dave starts. Split tongue. It's a fun trick, you say, and stick your tongue out for a moment. Only a moment, though, because it's super cold out. Right. I don't know how I forgot that. I was basically obsessed with your tongue when I finally saw it. Dave says casually and walks off, leaving you standing there in shock. Explain that? You say, hurrying after him. Before I could see it, I could always hear that you talked slightly differently, but I could never work out how or why. Normally, I'm good at working that stuff out, like, TZ has this raspy sort of quality to her voice, and whenever Carcat's annoyed or pretending he is, it makes it sound like he's got a throat full of aquarium rocks, but you always have this weird quality to the way you talk that's definitely in your mouth and not your throat or your nose. Dave explains, like this is normal. Then again, he was basically blind for a lot of his life. Sometimes Terezi describes sound in the same kind of crazy detail, so you figure it's a blind person thing. You're not talking about my lisp, you ask, letting it happen for once. You're not a fan of having a lisp, which is why you've mostly trained yourself out of it. Aside from being, an impediment to your speech, it also played a little too close to that geeky tech loser trope. What? No, that stuff's boring. Helpful for identifying you when there's a ton of people speaking, but not actually interesting. No, it's because of your tongue being split like that, it fucks about with how you pronounce things. Obviously, everyone knew about it before, but people don't comment on things everyone can see. As soon as I saw you and could actually interpret what my eyes were telling me, learning to see properly is super hard, by the way. but as soon as I saw your tongue, it was just a whole light bulb moment for me. Dave explains. Well, that's gonna stick with you for a while, but it's good to know, you guess. Who has your favorite voice, then? Putting aside, obviously, hearing the voices of people you love, because family or whatever are going to be nice. Just audio-wise, who wins? You ask curiously. You're a strong second place if we're talking just audio, because the split tongue thing just sounds cool to me. Dave starts. I appreciate that I'm second place. Who wins? You ask as you both reach the snowmobile. Dave starts to dust fallen snow and little branches off of the snowmobile as he talks. I have to say, Carcat, he has this whole duality thing, which probably pings you too, given your whole obsession with the idea. Ignoring his regular speaking voice when he's not saying anything important, he's got two distinct types of voice. He has this growly tone that gets into his speaking voice at the slightest inconvenience, and like I said, it's like actual gravel in there, and it just revs up more and more the pissier he is about something, which is fucking delightful when he's flipping his shit about the smallest thing. Dave snickers. I know, right? You agree with a grin so wide it hurts. It's funny as shit. But the other thing he does is whenever he gets actually emotional about something, or usually people, there's none of that tone, and it's all like... I was gonna say bassy, but his whole voice is pretty deep, but it's... trying to explain sound to you is hard. Like, when he's talking about something that's really moving to him, he sounds like really smooth, high-quality booze tastes. I don't drink a lot, and I don't think you do either, but... like, you must have had some really nice whiskey or scotch or rum or something that's really... Dave flounders. No, I know what you mean. Like, deep and rich and warm kind of thing? You nod. Yeah, like that. I think I just like deeper tones in general. I can't tell you how cool it was for me hearing Dirk and Hal's voices change. I mean, obviously it happened to my voice too, but it's different when it's other people. Anyway, enough ranting about audio shit. Don't ask me about headphone recommendations or speaker brands, or we'll be here all day. Dave says, and stands up from attaching the trailer to the snowmobile. So, what now? You ask, since you can see Dave looking at his screen on his arm. So, because of freedom of information, most of our written communication can be requested, and we can blot some things out for security, but we try not to because it looks bad and makes people think we're hiding stuff. We are, but they don't need to know that, Dave says. You can't help but feel like this would be easier if people knew about the Void, if there was some way to tell people in a way that wouldn't panic them. He told you about the test his mother ran, and obviously it'd be hugely unethical to use people as lab rats like that, but there's no way that can be a good test of anything, right? On the other hand, Dave's just gone through a lot of heartbreak, and he's clearly stressed. Not to mention, you're potentially causing a problem here for the balance with whatever's happening to you. It's not the opportune moment to poke at the clearly festering wound that is the topic of science and reason applied to the Void. When everything is calmer and Dave isn't so fragile, you can maybe try to ask about this again, or ask Aradia instead. Better to just leave things as they are for now. So, you prompt him. What I mean is that on our regular messages, I have to be careful with what I say, but on the balancer chat, I can say whatever, because that's 1,000,000,000% top secret, so I can let Radia know where we are. Dave explains, tapping away on his screen. I guess it doesn't matter if we spent time out here doing your balancing thing, as if the official story is our very boring walk down the mountain, you say slowly, and Dave finger guns at you with one hand as he reads a new message that's come in. Can you find the other balancers without seeing them? You ask curiously. Yes and no. Gamzee's easy for me to find more or less, unless he's actively hiding from me. Finding people with the opposite alignment is a little harder. I can do it easy as anything if we're actually balancing, but I don't have the ability to see where they are when the others are just brushing their teeth or whatever, Dave says, looking back up at you. How do you know when someone is a balancer, then, if you can't see them walking around and being obviously off from normal people? You ask him. Okay, so imagine there's this big seesaw and everyone's blindfolded. I can talk to everyone else on it and we can move about and coordinate so that we're level. Even with us being blindfolded, we could still know something was off if some asshat ran in the middle and started breakdancing on the seesaw. Sometimes you get noise, but a person is kind of hard to miss. I mean, sometimes you get shit like this unreality bullshit storm that's making things janky as hell, and sometimes there's a wash of one side or the other that spreads through people because of something happening, but you still know. Besides, the ghosts know. Dave explains. How do the ghosts know? You ask. You don't like the idea of Bro knowing anything ever. Well, ours are invisible to all but 4 people. They're used to being ignored. If they catch someone actually seeing them, then they know. Only balancers see ghosts. Well, them and psionics who can see ghosts, I guess, but we know about them. Also, most of the ghosts are starved for attention, and if they think you can see them, they try to make sure. Last time we met up with another ship, there was this kid, about 10 or something, who could see ghosts, and GHB scared the shit out of him. Out of sheer pettiness, Bro ratted him out to Gamzee. GHB got banished so fucking fast. Anyway, that's how we know. Also, Aradia says stay here, so we might as well eat and wait for them. Dave says, changing the topic. Sure. I can't say I'm upset at not seeing Bro, but I'd feel a little better knowing where he is. You say, uneasily looking around for all the good it'll do you. Enjoy the luxury of not interacting with him. Dave advises you and sits down to start cooking. You sit down with him and start unpacking your food once again, but your mind is still on your earlier question. When you came to the ship, you were already a balancer, right? You ask him. Sort of? I was already haunted. With most people, you have a traumatic thing happen and someone dies and they haunt you, so with Gamzee, it was the whole murder of Kurlos thing. Poor kid. And that had an effect on Gamzee, so when his ancestor was spaced for murdering his descendant, he stuck to Gamzee. That's a pretty normal way for it to happen, though it's not always that dramatic. Dave starts to explain as he begins to heat the water. You said before about Bro being broken or something, and your whole thing was the experiments they did to you, right? You ask cautiously. They didn't exactly tell me at the time what the purpose of the experiments was, but Bro's told me some since. Bro said they were trying to work out if the void manifests visually, or if it's psychic and seeing people just interpret it visually, which, as it happens, it is psychic stuff. What you see isn't really real. It's your mind's best way of interpreting what's going on. Dave explains, and you note the shift in his voice to something more clinical, not talking about what happened to him directly, but it's all more general. You could say that about regular vision, that's why you get optical illusions and stuff, you point out. Right. She wanted to know if it affected cognition in this one test, so it was kiddie IQ tests. Math questions read out loud, logic puzzles. If Peter is taller than James but shorter than Steve, is Steve taller or shorter than blah blah blah, and do all that while you're trying to ignore the walls melting. Bro says we weren't meant to be anywhere near the dangerous part of the unreality field because he was there administering the test, but we ended up really far out and he got bitten, I guess. It was sort of like his soul fractured and died bit by bit. The more Bro died inside, the more void got in, and I got haunted bit by bit. He got more coherent the more of him I got, but it wasn't enough to do anything with until he fully died. Dave explains quietly. You have a lot of questions, but Dave seems like he's going to keep talking, so you let him. The thing you can't get over is how young Dave was back then, especially when you contrast it to what innocent kid things you were doing at that same point in time. The Bro that was alive got worse the longer it went on. I don't want to say that he wasn't responsible for the things he did, because he was. I didn't have some fragment of Bro horrified at what his other self was doing. He wasn't a zombie, and he wasn't so lost that he couldn't still easily do complex science. It was more bits of him chipped out and darkness filled the gaps. Like, have you ever looked at someone and seen this look in their eyes, this darkness where you know that they want to hurt you or kill you? A real ominous heart in your throat, hair on the back of your neck standing up kind of thing? Dave asks. Gamzee's ancestor used to give off that vibe, yeah. Sometimes Gamzee does too, but I don't know if that's chuckle voodoos or what. You nod. Well, it's like that. It's the whole darkness in the soul, or whatever. It became Bro in the way that you can get a bottle and pour out its contents and fill it up with something else, and it fits the same space and does the same stuff, but it's different. It was like that. When Bro actually physically died, he fully assembled, and I could, in theory, do stuff with him, but I had no idea what to do. I had all the innate power of a balancer, but no idea what was going on. You instinctively have a feel of the balance, so I don't think I threw it off too much, but when I got on the Atuan finally, they figured out someone new was there, and the ghosts who were around found Bro and then tracked me down and explained everything. Bro was pretty mad when they explained things to me, and he couldn't do any science about it. I learned the job pretty quickly. Even if I wasn't doing the work then, I was in the loop and knew what was going on enough to not throw everyone else off. Dave says. God, you whisper in horror. So to answer the question, I was a balancer in the sense that I was in control and whatever pretty quick after I got to the ship, but I only took over doing the job when Sam took a bullet trying to save Matuna. So I'm sorry that I wasn't around for you much back then. I was dealing with suddenly trying to step into Sam's shoes and stop the whole ship from being fed to the void. Still, I'm sorry. Dave apologizes. Sorry? You shouldn't have to be sorry. We were kids. Dave, you shouldn't have had to deal with that at that age. You shouldn't have to deal with that now. You snap. This isn't okay. None of this is okay. And Dave's whole life has been so fucked up that you don't think he'd even know okay if it walked up and slapped him in the face. Shit, no wonder losing Jade has hit him so hard. It seems like she's the only thing untouched by all this void he has. His siblings are tied up in his horrible childhood, and he lies to everyone else. The people he doesn't lie to are involved, so it was just Jade. Sure, he lied to her about all this void stuff, but aside from that, you're pretty sure he was honest with her. This isn't fair. Nothing I can do about it. Dave shrugs and goes back to cooking like it's nothing. You sit there in silence, watching Dave prepare food, all while your heart breaks for him and your mind anxiously gnaws over everything he said, until it gets to one detail. You said you weren't meant to be near the void in that test. What happened? Did it chase you, or? You ask. Bro said it was a freak accident. The void got closer than it should have, and the cable hitching us close to the ship spooled out when it shouldn't have. He says it was an accident. Dave says, and hands you your tray of food. He says. You repeat. Yeah, and for the sake of me not wanting to banish him right now, because I need him around for balancing when Aradia shows up, I'm going to leave that there and say that was probably what happened, I guess. Dave says, blatantly lying. I might have follow-up questions later, if that's all right with you, you say, slowly and suspiciously. Dave shrugs a little and eats his food in silence. He guessed what he already covered was pretty personal. You have so many more questions and so much to say on what he's already told you, but you don't know if you should do either. For a start, you're not sure if you can trust him. Oh, not in the sense that you think that Dave is untrustworthy as a person. God, no. What you mean is that... Alright, analogy time. All relationships require a certain degree of trust, right? But there was a point in your life when your bipolar treatment hadn't been as well worked out as it is now, and you were emotionally unstable after losing Matuna. It wasn't a good time for you then, and you weren't in a good place. A lot of pitch relationships have an aspect of... How can you put this? An aspect of deliberate pain in them. You push someone, goad them, insult them, take a swipe at their pride or whatever, in the understanding that it's reciprocated and you have limits to it. As someone's kismesis, it's your job to know the other person's limits. Some of it you can intuit without asking, but some you have to actually negotiate. Your kismesis breaking into your hive to mess with your things might be fine, but not if they mess with something seriously sentimental. Getting physically rough with them in a scrap might be all fun and games, but the moment you draw blood, it's all over. What works for one pair won't work for another. People romanticize just knowing what the other person wants, partly because knowing someone well enough to do that is romantic, but actual adults know you need to talk about things like that sometimes. There's a caveat with that, though. You have to be personally in a place where you're able to know what your own limits are. If you're so fucked up in yourself that you feel like you deserve anything bad that happens to you, then you can't parse out the difference between the good kind of pitch and just straight up pain. You could handle a pitch relationship now, even if there was a time when you couldn't. You're not entirely sure you can trust Dave to handle himself. Sure, he's devastatingly capable, he's smart, and you can read if a topic is pretty personal to him. He's fine there. You just don't think he can tell when something is or isn't okay. As a kid, he had no control over his life. He was an experiment, and he said before that he was threatened into complying. His home life was fucking awful from what you've heard from him and Hal. Sure, he moved to the Atuan, but he's been stuck with Bro's ghost this whole time, and he can't get out of that situation. As a kid on your ship, he got roped into balancing to save people's lives, which is a huge weight to put on a kid, and he couldn't say no. What's worse, all of this has come with this understanding of it not mattering if it's fair or not, or if he would agree given a fair choice. It just is what it is. Dave can't tell anyone about any of this if they don't already know about the ghosts and the void. He can't tell his family, his friends, no one. When he was a science experiment, you know it was a threat that kept him quiet, but now, even if the captain, at your most charitable interpretation, just says there are bad things that could happen if you talk, and legally you're bound to secrecy, you're not sure you see the difference. You don't even know if there's a difference for him. You're sure the captain has better motives than Bro and Dave's mom had, but does it really matter if it leaves Dave in the same position? Dave's sense of what's normal is probably so far gone that he couldn't even tell if someone was exploiting his situation. It makes you so angry for him. You're not even sure you know what you could do to help. Most likely, Dave couldn't tell you if you asked. Dave perks up a good few seconds before you hear the distant hum of a snowmobile engine. He stands, putting his things away as he does, and when Aradia gets close, he calls out to her. Aradia arrives on her snowmobile with ice crystals in her loose hair as she hangs onto the back of Marsti, who is driving in a weaving path between the trees. As Aradia gets off of the snowmobile, you look at her and wonder how old she was when she got dragged into this balancing mess. You suppose she and Dave could at least talk to each other then, and that's something. It explains why the two of them have always got on so well. Well, also Gamzee too, you guess. He must have been pulled into things early if his whole deal is connected to his ancestor. God, you don't like the guy, but you wouldn't wish all of this on him. Let me get my medical kit out before you two start going all musical. Marsti sighs as she reaches for her bag. I feel fine now, if that helps you get a baseline, you tell her. It does. Sit down. Take your arm out of your sleeve so I can get a monitor on your arm. Marsti tells you, and obligingly you sit back down. Do you think, for the sake of minimizing change, we should just repeat a song? Leave her Johnny? Dave suggests. That sounds smart. How are you doing? Aradia asks him gently, and you see Dave tense. I don't want to talk about it, Dave mutters, and Aradia knows better than to push. I should probably start, since we already know that you're going to be off. More or less the same as when our situations were reversed, right? You let me follow you then, so now I'll return the favor. Aradia offers, and Dave simply nods. You can tuck your arm back in now. Sit with your back against the snowmobile and try to relax. Marsti instructs you, so you do as she says.
Dave and Aradia sit down in front of you and Marsti, facing each other. The forest around you feels quiet. Whatever noise there is from the life here is muffled by the trees and snow. Aradia starts to sing, just the first line on her own, and her voice is pure and clear as a bell. You can hear it echoing up the mountain, and static runs up your posture pole.
I thought I heard the old man say,
Aradia sings beautifully. Dave draws breath, and with the next line they both start to sing together. Their voices merge and blend together, and it's as if something in your mind pops, like a tired joint releasing when you stretch. Your vision goes staticky, and all at once there's more people with you. A troll who looks a lot like Aradia, rendered like white artist's crayon on black paper. She's watching you with white eyes that bear neon pinprick pupils. At Dave's side, there's a figure crouched and looking at you. He looks like what you imagine a shadow would, with the contrast turned up so you could somehow see features. Out of instinct, you try to lean back away from him, but you're pressed up to the snowmobile so you've nowhere to go. The man... Bro. It has to be Bro. His expression sharpens, and he turns his head fully to look at you. His hair moves like gravity doesn't affect him, and he narrows his eyes at you. He opens his mouth to speak, but it's all wrong.
Here,
he says, garbled and aching your think sponge to hear it. I think he sees us, the white ghost, Damara, says slowly. In the background, both Dave and Aradia continue to sing, their faces tense in concentration.
Leave her, Johnny, leave her. Oh, leave her, Johnny, leave her.
Damara reaches out for you and moves her hand in front of your face, this way and that, and you follow it with your eyes. Bro garbles nonsense at you, or at her maybe. He can definitely see me. Aradia, he sees us, Damara says, and Aradia spares a concerned glance your way, but she has to focus on Dave again almost immediately. Bro stands up in a mist of darkness, his feet not quite touching the ground like he's floating. His clothes also move weirdly when he does, and then you remember how he died. They spaced him. Of course he doesn't follow gravity anymore. Bro looks around with a frown and then gestures to the woodland around you as he looks at Damara. It's still just us, Damara murmurs. Why can I see you? You whisper in terror. I don't know. Your boy isn't here, she answers softly.
Oh, the wind was foul and the sea ran high.
Dave winces, and abruptly the snow around you is dark, like it's suddenly twilight and the night is mere minutes away. Shadows around the trees stretch long around you, reaching towards you with dark fingers along the ground. Bro looks down at Dave and opens his mouth, but before he can say anything, Damara smacks into him, all camouflage bright.
Shut your fucking mouth, you useless little bitch! You're making it worse!
She snarls at him. The snow is bright now, too bright, even you can tell that. Aradia reaches out and grabs Dave's hand and things even out. She squeezes his hand and the two of them keep singing. Bro seethes, visibly smoking black into the air above him, but he and Damara do no more than glare at each other. Damara kneels down by you again. You can see Dave and Aradia through her. Can you think of the one you saw before? It was Matuna, right? Damara asks, and you nod mutely. Focus, close your eyes, Damara tells you. You let your eyes slide closed and think about Matuna as Dave and Aradia's words ring out through the air. It's the chorus that they're on now, and you know it enough to not need to pick out each word. Instead, you do what Damara said. Everything feels dark, dark and distant. You see without seeing, and what you don't see is a simple display. Blood pressure, pulse, neural activity. The numbers feel hazy, but not great. You can't see Matuna, and you're not him, but you can kind of feel that he's there in the same way that you could when you were kids and slept in the same respite block. His presence is like a nightlight out of view, just making things in the quiet night glow ever so slightly from his reflected and weak light.
And the winds don't blow, and it's time for us to leave her.
The end of the song catches you by surprise, and you open your eyes only to find yourself surrounded by fewer people. By which you mean that Bro and Damara are gone.
Well, that was better than last time, at least, Marty says quietly. I could see them, you say, your voice a hoarse whisper. Dave glances away from you for a moment, and then back to you. He seems to be tracking something near you, but you look around and see nothing. You can't now, though, Dave concludes. No, you agree. What did you see when Damara asked you to think about Matuna? Aradia asks you. I could feel him there, but it was nothing like before. I think his vital signs were being tracked by someone. I don't think he's doing well, you say unhappily. Aradia frowns at a seemingly unoccupied space and then sighs. Damara says that she thinks you're haunted, like us, but not yet. Matuna's still alive right now, so she says that because he's future-based, like hers, that the effect is coming in anticipation of that. You're pre-haunted, Aradia explains with a frown. Pre-haunted, Dave echoes in disbelief. I could hear Bro talking too, but it was just gibberish, you add. That's what he sounds like to me and Damara, too. All past ghosts do. Aradia nods. Lucky you. So, what, Solix will be one of us, but isn't yet, and is getting the psychic equivalent of a hangover before he's even drunk anything? Is that what I'm getting here? Dave asks. That seems to be the best explanation. He can't seem to do anything on his own just yet, but he can make that connection when we balance. Aradia agrees. The future's such bullshit. Dave mutters. At first you're inclined to laugh, but something about him seems off. So, wait. There's gonna be 3 of you, then, if Solix is gonna be future? Isn't that a problem? Marsti asks, with a frown on her face and a confused kind of pout to her mouth. It'd be an adjustment, but not a problem. Ships don't always have a 50-50 split. The Atuan didn't in the past, Aradia explains. Dave's jaw goes a little tense then, and something about his posture seems too tight. You're not the only one to notice, though. Aradia's attention shifts from you to Dave. Dave, what's on your mind? Aradia asks him. Dave says nothing, but after a second, his eyes flick to you and then sharply away again. He breathes in, then out, in one sharp stream of mist in the cold air, but it gives you a pretty good idea at how forceful that breath was through such gritted teeth. Dave? You ask worriedly. We should get back. I'm sure people need Solix, and you want Marsti around the base in case some accident happens, Dave says, moving to get up, but Aradia catches him by the shoulder before he can go anywhere at all. Dave, we need to talk. Clearly you have something on your mind. The balance is already unsteady, and with things being how they are, it makes sense to talk things out so things are easier, Aradia says reasonably. No, Dave says flatly. Dave, come on, Aradia presses him. You won't like this. No one will like this, Dave shoots back. Sometimes you need to have unpleasant conversations to feel better. I'm not pale soliciting you here, Dave, but it's pretty obvious that you need to talk. If not for your own well-being, then what about everyone else? Aradia reasons. Is this a good idea? I don't really know a lot about how this works, but I'm not sure interrogating Dave about his feelings is really what's important here. If I'm throwing you two off, can't I do anything to fix it? I don't want to make things even more dangerous down here, and what about when we get on the shuttles again? You ask, and Dave slumps slightly, resting his elbows on his knees and turning his dark gaze on the ground. You can't balance unless you're actually a balancer. If we know you're off, that's one thing. It was weird when Fazur and Aradia turned. There's always adjustment. It's just how it is. With any luck, they're wrong, and you're not going to be one of us after all. Dave says, his voice quiet and dull. Like you said, these things happen, and I can't think of any other explanation for this. I hope... Aradia starts. You hope what? I'm sorry, what hope is there here? You hope that Solix doesn't become a balancer because it's a living hell, sure, but that means he's still connected to Matuna, who is actively in agony right now, and you wish that last? Not to mention dragging Solix through all that every time we have to balance. Or do you wish that his brother would die so he can be dragged into our shitty situation? Both of those are fucking terrible, Dave shouts at her. It's not all terrible, and wishing someone's pain was over sooner isn't a terrible thing. Besides, we're actually able to help people, and with more of us again, we'll be able to ease the pressure a little. He can talk to Matuna again, that's not a bad thing. I'm just trying to see the good in a bad situation. Scaring him about it won't help. It's not as if I wanted this for him. I tried to keep him away from this job in the first place until it was out of my hands. This isn't anyone's fault, Aradia retorts sharply. You catch Marsti's eye on the other side of the arguing Dave and Aradia. She also looks like she'd like to not be right next to this conversation, but it doesn't seem like she can move either without getting dragged into it. I'm not having this conversation with you. I still have to work with you after this, and if I stay, I'm not going to be able to. Solix, come on, Dave mutters darkly as he gets to his feet and walks the few paces to the snowmobile and swings his leg over it. You're not sure how you feel about Dave bailing from this conversation that might be shaping up to be an argument, but on the other hand, he's literally your ride back to the base, so you can't not go with him. You shoot Aradia and Marsti an apologetic, if slightly alarmed look, and scramble after Dave and get on the snowmobile. Dave takes off almost immediately, and you hold on tight to him in case you fall. As soon as you're more than a minute away, Dave's speed on the snowmobile slows down from fast to the more reasonable pace that you'd gone at when you went through the trees before. It's reassuring that, as upset and angry as Dave apparently is, he's not risking your safety for it. You try to compose your thoughts before you open an audio channel to him. You're not going so fast that it'd be hard to hear each other if you shouted, but you don't really want to shout for this. I didn't want to get in the middle of that back there, but you start, but Dave cuts you off. No, man, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have dragged you into that, and I'm sure this sucks enough for you without me losing my shit. This is an old kind of thing between me and Aradia, and normally we can just agree to disagree, but... Dave sighs. Do you want to talk about it? Not that driving through a whole load of trees and ice on the way back to the base isn't thrilling and all, but it could at least be something to pass the time, you ask. What happened to the wonder at an alien planet? Dave snorts. Over it, you joke. Dave lapses into silence for long enough that you figure he's decided he's not going to talk about it. You're not going to push him on it, so you're surprised when he eventually does speak again. Me and Aradia are pretty close. We click as people, more than me and Gamzee do. When I got to the ship, it was a bunch of adult balancers, the previous generation, and then it was me and Gamzee as dumb, fucked up teens. We didn't talk much outside of balancing, because I think we both wanted to have a life outside of that shit, but when Damara appeared to Aradia, I had someone who I could actually hang with that I didn't have to hide things from. Dave explains. What happened to the old balancers? You ask him warily. A couple of the dark-aligned ones transferred to other ships to fill their gaps. Beyond that, balancers don't have a great life expectancy. Sometimes the void gets you, sometimes it's just the job that pushes people into things that kill them. It's not great. Dave answers you. That's really shitty, you say in horror. Yeah, kind of hoping for better for you. Hoping everyone else is wrong. You deserve better than that, Dave says softly. So do you tell him firmly and squeeze him a little tighter. It's different with me, Dave sighs. How? You demand. You feel Dave sigh deeply, and when he starts talking, his voice is heavy. Mom and Bro used me to find out about the void. They ran all kinds of tests. I couldn't say no. If they did, they'd punish me, and when that didn't work, they'd take it out on my siblings. Do it, or awful shit will happen to you and the people you love. Not much choice there. Then we end up on the Atuan, and me and Bro immediately get clocked by the balancers on there. Their priorities were making sure I knew what I was doing, so I didn't screw their whole deal up. I didn't want to, but hey, do it or the void eats you and everyone you love. I didn't get a choice about coming into this job or having to change my eyes to qualify because, do it or the worst things happen to you and all the people you love. I never got out of the whole lab animal thing. I just got a different cage. I call more of the shots now, but ultimately it's not any different. Dave explains. You've never had a choice. That's why you were off about me finding out about the carapacians before, you say, as it all clicks into place. Dave never had a choice, but he's always been so careful to let you have as much as he could give you. He didn't want to push you too hard, ever. He was trying to offer you a kindness he never got. Yeah, but Aradia and Fazer, they're different. They don't get a choice about any of this either, and they're not oblivious to how dangerous things are and how big the consequences are, but they have these ghosts of future people, so for them there's this whole destiny aspect to it. They're fulfilling a role, and their ghosts don't hate them. Fuck, Fazer and his are friends. Meanwhile, on my side of things, me and Gamzee get stuck with the worst people for us, and not only do I hate being around Bro, but GHB is a nightmare. Bro doesn't even like the guy. They can't kill each other, but GHB routinely stalks and attacks Bro for fun. Sure, he deserves it, but it's like no one on my side is having fun here. And yeah, woo, spooky ghost powers and the ability to save people, that's cool, I guess. I get to do music to balance things, and it's not always a disaster like right now. But unless I'm literally hospitalized, I still have to work whenever it's my turn to balance, and I'm always aware of everything. Dave says sharply. You don't know what to say, what you could say to any of that. I didn't want that for you. Great, if Matuna isn't in pain anymore, then that's good, I guess. I'm not happy that he has to die, and it's a shit position to put you in where you don't know if you want that or not. I'm not okay with Aradia presenting this like it's a good or even neutral thing to you. If she's right, then all I can say is, I'm sorry. Dave finishes quietly. You consider all of that for a few moments. You don't want Matuna dead, obviously, but given his position, death is kind of better, right? I'm not thrilled about all of this. Matuna dying isn't great, but if he haunted me, then at least we could talk again. I've really missed him. So I get that it'd be different than it is for you and Gamzee. You start. That's something at least. Dave concedes. It's not like I want this job, but if I could help make things easier for the rest of you, then that's gotta be worth something. You add. Despite what some idiots think, this job doesn't make you a hero. He tells you. What? I can't believe you'd tell me that. I was hoping for a cape and everything. You say sarcastically. Oh, yeah, just bursting all your childhood dreams. Wait till I tell you that Santa's not real. Dave says. You never really thought that he was, based on the fact that it's a human idea, even if trolls latched onto it pretty quick, what with the shared holiday season. Not to mention the whole feasibility of Santa traversing space to get to every ship is quite the ask. Still, never let that get in the way of a dumb comment. Santa's not real? You ask in a quiet and horrified tone. With your arms around his middle, you can feel Dave laughing. You hear the sound of the snowmobile's engine cut out, and the two of you skid to a gentle stop as Dave apparently cracks up completely. Fuck me, holy shit, I don't know why that got me so bad. Dave manages to get out between helpless laughter. Did I make you laugh so hard we had to pull over? You ask, filled with accomplished glee. Dave is kind of half laughing, half choking from cracking up so much, so you get off the snowmobile and send Karkat a message through the screen on your arm. Not that it's going anywhere, but still. Update on how life on another planet is going? I just made Dave laugh so hard we had to pull over. I think I broke him. 100 out of 10, would do again. You hear a barely coherent, why is that so funny? And you're grinning in the self-satisfied glee of someone who's managed to save a conversation from going down a dark path and instead got someone laughing. At least, that's how you feel until Dave's I can't breathe from laughing sound turns into something that sounds more like a sob. Dave seems as thrown by it as you were, but as he sits up, you can see tears start to run down his face, tracking black streaks down his cheeks and dripping onto his snowsuit. His breath hitches a little as he rubs at the tears with one hand. Why am I crying? Dave asks in a small and thin-sounding voice, like he's barely holding it together. Hey, emotions are shit. Really, we both evolved them in the dumbest way of doing things possible. They read like shit code done by someone drunk off of their ass. Sometimes they glitch. Besides, you've been through a lot lately, so maybe it's just overflow or something. You try to reason for him. Shit, Dave mumbles. You crouch down next to the snowmobile and look up at him. Dave seems tired, emotionally tired, more than anything, and when he looks at you, he just seems so sad. I'm sorry, Dave whispers. For what? You ask. All of this. I really hope you don't end up as a balancer. You deserve better, and you know what not being one is like. You know what you're missing, and I really like you, and I don't want anything to happen to you. Your blood pusher feels like it slams right into your ribcage as Dave says that, but he doesn't notice. I know I'm probably scaring you about it, which I guess Arati is right. There's nothing we can do about it, so why get upset about it, and what happens, happens, but I don't know. Dave trails off. I think a middle ground between not worrying about something that hasn't happened yet and also admitting that this whole thing is kind of a shit show is the smarter alternative. You tell him diplomatically, and he laughs a little bitterly. Yeah, both. I know. He sniffs and looks away. Since you're already crying, do you want to talk about Jade? You offer him as helpfully as you can. What's to say about it? Dave asks flatly, with a half-hearted kind of shrug. I don't know. That'd be why I asked, you point out. Dave sniffs and looks around at the horizon for a bit before turning his attention back to you, though his gaze skitters away almost immediately. She's ended it. There's nothing I can do about it. She was everything to me, and it's probably because of that kind of thinking that it's over. She was the one thing I had that was untouched by all of this, and I love her. That was probably too much weight to put on that. The whole situation is hopeless, pointless, and everything sucks. There's details I'm trying to tell myself don't have anything to do with any of this, even though I know there's no way it helped, but she said... Dave falters as he looks at you properly. I know it's shitty timing, but Jade didn't know about any of this. I'm sure she was just trying to break things cleanly and give you space. I really don't think it was anything about you that made her decide all of this. It's not like you did anything wrong, you tell him, picking your words carefully. I'd have done anything to stay with her, Dave admits, ever so quietly. That's probably why she didn't try to work things out. You shouldn't have to change yourself for someone else, and I'm sure she wouldn't want you to pretend to be someone you're not, or pretend to want something you don't. I wouldn't have with AA. I mean, okay, it's an analogy because it wasn't ever a problem with us, but I wouldn't have wanted Aradia to pretend to want to have sex with me when she wasn't into it just because I wanted it. If she wasn't interested, then it's not what I want. There's no way that anyone wants someone to pretend to be happy doing things they don't want to do, or even just things they don't care about. Do you really think she'd want to go through her life in a relationship with you if she knew you were just doing it because she wanted whatever it was, or worse, that you were just gritting your teeth through things you didn't want just so you could stay together? You point out. No, Dave mumbles. So she was probably trying to help, even if it hurt a lot to do, you add. That doesn't make me feel any better now, though, does it? Dave says miserably. It not making you feel better doesn't mean I'm not right, you say back quickly, and Dave glares at you as if trying to reprimand you for being right. I'd prefer it if I could feel better and if all of this wasn't happening, Dave says bitterly. You stand up and shrug. Wishing things were different isn't going to help anyone, and as much as it sucks to hear that, it's the truth, and Dave knows it. It's probably good that she did this down here, Dave says after a moment, his head tipped back to look at the overcast and slightly gray sky above you both. What, so you don't have to deal with telling your family right away or something? You guess. No, but that's not a bad point. I meant more that I don't want to deal with feeling anything right now, and if we were on the ship, I'd probably be making dumber decisions, Dave says. Like? You ask. Like going out and getting blackout drunk. It's a shitty way of dealing with your problems, and it's super risky for me because alcohol problems run in the family, but the idea of not thinking is very tempting right now. But then I wouldn't be able to go home because of Hal being there, and I don't drink, so I couldn't do that, which would mean crashing on either Aradia's or Fazer's lounge plank. At least Fazer wouldn't make me feel guilty about it all. Dave sighs. Oh, I guess I'm glad there's no alcohol down here then, you say. Bold of you to assume I don't know how to make my own. That's a wild assumption to make, considering as my kitchen sink on the ship I was born on was frequently used for making moonshine. But that's a lot of effort to go through for a really bad decision. Also, I really don't want to be anything like either of them, so... Dave shrugs. Out of interest, because I don't have a lot of experience with this, why do you let everyone believe that you don't drink at all? I realize lying is a big thing with the whole balancer shit, but it seems like a weird lie to hold up. You ask curiously. For one, it's easier for Roxy not to touch it again if none of us drink around her, so it's not something I do with them around anyway, but sailor culture has alcohol in it, drinking in celebration or mourning, things like that. Me and Jake don't drink around my family, and we don't mention that we do when we're at the club. It's just simpler that way. Also, being able to drink when I decide I want to and not drown in it like Mom did kind of pisses Bro off because it implies that I've got more self-control than her or even him, so there's that, Dave says with a shrug. Getting blackout drunk out of heartbreak doesn't sound all that in control, though, huh? You say, shooting for gentle with your tone and not rubbing his face in it. Dave's pretty clearly conscious of the difference. No, it does not. Like I said, probably a good thing it happened down here. Dave sighs deeply. You have one of those moments where it feels like your think sponge got distracted and didn't catch what the rest of you was doing until too late. Your hand reaches out, your index finger and its claw brushing the underside of Dave's jaw to tip his head up to look at you properly. Your mouth decides to smile at him and then talk, all without your think sponge's say-so. Well, hey, look at you seeing positives to this whole situation, you say, almost purr at him. What the fuck? What are you doing? It makes Dave laugh, though, and you want to carve the picture of his smile into the inside of your think pan so it's there forever, because it's perfect. I guess. Is that how it goes? There's a whole bunch of things where you think that something was probably for the best and in the end you're over it? Dave asks. Something like that, yeah. You nod. Dave smiles. The expression is a little sad, but there's something a little brighter in it. Maybe the start of hope or something. He tells you that you really should get back on so he can take you back, and you do what he says. Your thoughts are elsewhere, and you're fully off back on the journey to the base when the thought firmly coalesces into its final form. This is more than a crush. You've known that for a while. This is actual love. Like the kind you used to have for Aradia. The kind you've had for Karkat since forever. It's a blackish red, but you can call it love, and you have the same horrible feeling that you're as doomed in this love for Dave as you are for Karkat. They're both equally as likely to happen, and it hurts just as badly for both. Well, fuck.